Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Funk's podcast. This is the second episode of the podcast where I talk about whatever's on my mind. Last week, we established what makes a good argument, and I gave my claims for why I think I'm doing a good job at making claims. Yeah, so I'm doing it again. This week, I'm going to be talking about something completely different, like totally separate. But something I also think is really interesting, although it's not quite as serious. It's more just a fun thing to talk about, and that is game design and game development. So yeah, we're gonna get into that this week. I hope you guys are enjoying these. I'm trying to make them around 10 minutes long. I think that's a good length. So yeah, sit back, get a snack, get a drink, whatever, and just listen along to my thoughts. Yeah. So, yes, recently I got back into Minecraft, which, as many of you know, Minecraft is a video game where it's basically Legos on a computer. You can build anything. Yeah. So, recently I got back into Minecraft, and I'm sorry, I just realized this story is completely random, but this is relevant. So, yeah, so I got back into Minecraft. I was playing it a lot, and I decided, hey, I kind of want some more food in the game. And I remembered that, oh, I learned the Java coding language over the summer, so might as well make a mod, right? Can't be too hard. And I started coding a mod with Fabric, and I really enjoyed it, although it's a lot of work. And yeah, yeah, so it is a lot of work to make a mod because you have to do pixel art, you have to do coding, although it's all fun. And so I added my item, and I added it to the game. I played the game. I saw it in game, and I realized that it was completely useless. And then I did it again, and I think I'm getting better at this. So I made that mistake a few times, and then I went back, and now when I add something, I give it a use that the player will actually use. And I realized this is what Mojang does, is they used to just add stuff that's cool, but that probably contributed to why Minecraft was doing so badly for like a few years until 2019. Or maybe 2018, I forget when Updated Quadric came out. So I kind of realized Mojang's game design philosophy changed. Now they're only adding stuff that actually benefits the player, that it's not just interesting, it's actually usable and fun. And I think that's one of the main things is if you're going to add something to a game, there needs to be a reason to use it, because if there's not a reason to use it, then people are not going to use it. And if people aren't going to use it, then that defeats the whole purpose of it existing in the first place. Now, this doesn't just apply to Minecraft. It can apply to any game. And that's kind of like, this applies to more than just games, too. This applies to stories. This applies to, like, architecture as well. Because if you make something that's interesting but useless, people aren't going to use it. So you might as well have not have made it. Like in an airport, for instance, the big window looking at the airplanes, right? That's cool, but it also serves a purpose. It's so that you know when your plane has arrived, right? Now, if there were just, let's just say you could go to a second floor and just watch the planes, right? That would be interesting, but there's no reason to add that. And while some people would go up there and watch, it would barely be used, right? Because there's no reason to go up there and look at the airplanes. So I think if you add something to anything, there needs to be a purpose. And once more, this also, I've said this already, but this doesn't only apply to video games, or architecture, it also applies to storytelling. So if you include an element in a story that it's just there to be interesting, or it's just there for the, like, if you have a plot twist just for the sake of having a plot twist, that's not a very good plot twist, right? Because it's obvious you're just kind of trying to show off to whoever your audience is. And whenever I craft a story, most of mine, I don't think they're very good, But if there's like a big plot twist at the end, as there sometimes is, I try and make it relevant to the actual story itself and not just a random twist in things to be interesting. Because anyone can surprise people, but not everyone can actually make something that's meaningful for the entirety of its existence, where it doesn't just exist for the sake of being cool. And that's something everyone practices with. I certainly was really bad at this when I started any of my hobbies, but now as I get better at writing, I'm by no means good at writing, but I do think I'm getting better as I write. For instance, as writing is one of my hobbies, I feel like I am getting better at connecting things and not just arbitrarily adding random things. And tying this back into Minecraft, I do think this is the path I'm heading in for Minecraft. So, for example, I am adding a bunch of foods to the game in my mod, and at first I added a bunch of foods that I just wanted in the game for the sake of I thought it was cool. And yeah, that's cool. It's cool that they're in the game. I was correct about that. But if I actually if I finished the mod and I exported it and posted it online, barely anyone would use it. And if they actually downloaded it, it would only be for 5 seconds, and then they just wouldn't use it in survival, right? Because there's no reason to. So what I started doing is I started making foods that give you special effects and stuff, and foods that are different from other foods. And I think that's a good direction to be heading in, but I do believe it is possible to get better. So yeah, those are my thoughts on how you shouldn't just arbitrarily add things for the sake of adding them. And it's kind of like how you shouldn't just say things for the sake of saying them. And that is something I struggle with a lot. Like, I just kind of will ramble and ramble, as I'm doing now, because I have a lot of thoughts. And sometimes I worry that, wait, are any of these thoughts meaningful? Because I'm just thinking the same thing over and over again in a bunch of different ways. It's like it's like a bunch of different plates of the same type of food. But then I kind of realized, well, if you think about a thought a lot, that doesn't make the thought wrong, or less important. I do think all thoughts are important, but I do think you need to critically think about them in order for them to be eligible to be shared. Because if you have a thought and it doesn't immediately make sense, and you just randomly tell people, they will take it and share it before they critically think about it. Like, especially with, like, an example of this is breaking news. Like, there will be breaking news, and no one will know what's going on until days later, and only days later can you really form a full opinion on something. So yeah, I don't believe you should arbitrarily add things to games. I don't believe you should randomly put things in stories. I think everything should be intentional with not just what you make, but how you present yourself. But at the same time, there's also a flip side to that with how you present yourself, because if you're always thinking about how you are presenting yourself to other people, then that's kind of like a negative thought chain, because it's just a spiral that goes down and down. And I think there are a lot of different categories for what people think friends are, but my friends, to me, are the people that I can think out loud with. Like, for example, you, the viewer. I am kind of thinking aloud. I'm forming my words aloud, but I understand these thoughts, right? I've been thinking about what I'm saying. I've been thinking about it for a long time, and I kind of had some idea of what I was going to talk about this episode already, even if I didn't know exactly what I was going to say. But I define my friends as the people that I freely talk in front of. Or at least the people that I'm friendly with. And I think knowing when to differentiate between them is important, because people do behave differently in front of their friends and in front of other people. So yeah, it's been about 10 minutes. I think that was a good episode. There should be another episode this week because I didn't do one last week for personal reasons. All I will say is that skiing is really fun. But yeah, I really enjoyed making this. If you enjoyed listening to it, please like and subscribe. Then you will know when another one comes out. If you disagree with me, that's fine. Go ahead and put your disagreement in the comments. Just be respectful. I would love to see someone else's opinion on what I'm saying. I think that would be super interesting to talk about. So, yep. Thank you for listening once more. Make sure to critically think. Don't arbitrarily say things. And know who your friends are. So I will see you all in the next podcast. Thanks for listening.